The large conference room buzzed with anticipation. Sterling Motors was unveiling its newest high-performance engine, designed to revolutionize electric vehicles. Engineers, investors, and media personnel filled the space, their cameras and tablets at the ready. At the center of it all stood the female CEO, Victoria Kane. Confident, sharp, and known for her high standards, she was used to leading meetings where everything went according to plan. Today, however, she would face something entirely unexpected. Victoria walked up to the engine display, a sleek metallic marvel mounted on a pedestal. "Who designed this engine?" she asked, her voice carrying authority across the room. Engineers shifted uncomfortably. Each one had been part of the project, but no one stepped forward. "It's a team effort, ma'am," one engineer said hesitantly. Victoria raised an eyebrow. "I want to know the lead engineer. Who takes credit for this innovation?" At that moment, a small hand tugged at her sleeve. Victoria looked down to see a little girl standing shyly beside her. She had bright brown eyes, curly hair, and an earnest expression that made her impossible to ignore. "Excuse me," the girl said softly. "That's my daddy." Victoria froze. "Your daddy?" she repeated, glancing down at the child. The room fell silent. All eyes shifted to a man standing a few feet away. Thomas Reed, the workshop supervisor who had been quietly assisting the engineering team. He looked ordinary at first glance, wearing a simple polo and khakis blending into the crowd. But the little girl's declaration caused a ripple of recognition to pass through the room. "Yes," the girl continued, holding her father's hand tightly. "He designed it. Daddy said it took months and he worked really hard." Her voice was small but confident, and there was an unmistakable pride in her tone. Victoria's gaze swept over Thomas, scrutinizing him carefully. She had assumed the lead engineer would be a polished professional, someone in a crisp suit and tie, with awards and credentials on the wall. Yet here stood a man who seemed unremarkable, except for the brilliance of the engine before them. The crowd murmured, some skeptical, some amazed. Victoria took a slow breath and approached Thomas. "You designed this engine?" she asked. Thomas nodded humbly, glancing at his daughter who now stood beaming by his side. "Yes, ma'am. It was a team project, but I led the design." He looked nervous, aware that the CEO's reputation for high expectations could intimidate anyone. Victoria studied him, her professional facade cracking slightly as she processed the truth. "How?" she finally asked, her tone softer now, almost incredulous. "You're not what I expected." Thomas smiled politely. "I've been passionate about engines my whole life. I've worked hard, learned from mentors, and I love what I do. That's how." His words were simple, but they carried the weight of years of dedication. Victoria's eyes flicked to his daughter again. "And your little girl?" she asked, kneeling slightly to meet her gaze. "She's my biggest supporter," Thomas said. "She keeps me motivated." The room held its breath as Victoria's expression shifted from surprise to admiration. "I never would have guessed," she admitted. "I expected someone different, but this engine, it's incredible." She gestured toward the machine. "You've created something exceptional." Thomas nodded, a quiet pride in his eyes while his daughter clapped softly, delighted to see her father recognized. One of the investors leaned forward, curiosity piqued. "How did someone so seemingly ordinary produce such extraordinary work?" he asked. Thomas smiled. "Extraordinary work comes from passion, not appearances. I love what I do, and I pour everything into it." The little girl tugged at his hand again, whispering, "See, Mommy? I told you my daddy was amazing." Victoria, still processing the moment, couldn't help but smile. Even the most seasoned CEO couldn't ignore the authenticity and talent in front of her. Later, after the crowd dispersed, Victoria asked Thomas to join her in a smaller meeting room. She wanted to understand the mind behind the innovation. "Tell me how you approach this design," she said. Thomas explained, walking her through sketches, iterations, and the countless hours of testing. Victoria listened intently, genuinely impressed. She realized that leadership and brilliance weren't always accompanied by a fancy title or polished appearance. Sometimes, they were simply evident in the work itself. The little girl, meanwhile, remained a source of warmth and humor. She peeked over the table during the discussion, occasionally offering her father small reminders. "Daddy, you forgot the part about the cooling system," she said. Thomas chuckled. "Thank you, sweetheart," he replied. Victoria couldn't help but laugh quietly. The scene was unusual, heartwarming, and somehow perfectly human. A rare glimpse of authenticity in a corporate world driven by appearances. By the end of the meeting, Victoria had made a decision. She stood, offering Thomas a hand. "I want you to lead our next major project," she said. "Your talent and dedication deserve recognition, and I want you officially on our innovation team. No titles, no assumptions, just results. And I want your daughter involved too. She seems brilliant in her own way." Thomas was stunned, unable to find words at first. His daughter clapped again, squealing with joy. "Really, Daddy?" she whispered. Thomas nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "Yes, really." Over the next few months, Thomas's work received accolades within the company and beyond. Media outlets featured the story of the hidden genius engineer, a man whose talent had been quietly transforming the automotive world while raising a bright, confident daughter. Victoria became not just his CEO, but a mentor and advocate, helping him navigate leadership roles while keeping him grounded in the passion that had always driven him. The little girl, for her part, thrived as well. She often visited the office, curious about the machines and sketches, asking questions with surprising intelligence for her age. Her father guided her patiently, teaching her the basics of engineering, and Victoria even arranged for her to participate in small workshops for young innovators. The bond between the three grew, blending mentorship, family, and admiration into something uniquely inspiring. At a major product launch later that year, Victoria publicly acknowledged Thomas's contributions. On stage, she recounted the moment his daughter had pointed to him in front of the entire team. "It was a reminder," she said, "that talent and brilliance aren't always obvious. Sometimes it takes a child's honesty to reveal the true genius among us." The audience erupted in applause, and Thomas stood quietly, holding his daughter's hand, feeling more proud than ever. That night, as they walked home, his daughter turned to him. "Daddy, everyone clapped for you," she said, eyes sparkling. Thomas smiled down at her. "We did this together," he said softly. She hugged him tightly. "I knew you were amazing." He laughed. "Thank you, sweetheart. I hope you always believe in yourself too." Years later, Thomas's story remained a symbol of dedication, humility, and the power of encouragement. Victoria often cited it in company talks, reminding employees that true innovation comes from passion and authenticity, not titles or appearances. And the little girl, she grew up inspired by her father, often seen tinkering with her own small projects, dreaming of the day she would create something extraordinary herself. Sometimes, brilliance isn't announced with fanfare. Sometimes it's quietly nurtured in workshops, in late nights, and in the gentle encouragement of a child who simply says, "That's my daddy."